Zhiyun just released their newest gimbal in their Cinepeer series, the Cinepeer Weebil 3E. It's essentially a stripped down version of their Weebill 3S, but with all of the necessary features and functionality that you would need in a gimbal, like performance as well as payload. So a little bit of a disclaimer off the bat, Zhiyun did send me this gimbal around a month and a half ago to review and test out, of course share my thoughts on, but they did not pay me for the review, and they do get to see the video before it goes live, but the only reason is to make sure that I didn't fudge up any of the technical specs in the video, but they will not be changing any of my opinions or thoughts on the gimbal itself. The main differences between the Weebill 3E and the 3S series is that the built-in microphone and the integrated fill light have been removed. The Type-C port for follow focus and video transmission has also been eliminated, leaving you with only one USB-C port for camera control on the back of one of the motor arms. And in the box, it comes with the gimbal itself as well as the plate that you would mount your camera to. So as we all know, the main reason that you would use a gimbal is to stabilize your camera footage. Whether you're walking, running, chasing after a subject, climbing stairs, a gimbal is meant to stabilize that footage and achieve certain shots that you couldn't really normally achieve if you're shooting handheld. Like in real estate, a gimbal is the perfect tool for achieving stable and professional shots. The Cinepeer Weebil 3E weighs 2.31 pounds, has a payload of 6.61 pounds, and has an advertised runtime for 16 hours. And the total price is $249. The gimbal features locking mechanisms on each of the motor arms, which makes it a lot easier to balance your camera whenever you're ready to set it up. But also for travel, it keeps the arms from flailing around. Also, another cool feature that is honestly one of my favorites is the fact that it can shoot vertical, which is a standard feature in most gimbals nowadays, but it's still cool to see in a $250 price point. I'll show you some shots of my camera mounted to this, but this is the plate that slides onto the gimbal that you basically put your base plate onto. But if you want to mount vertically, all you do is slide off the mount, turn it on its side, slide it in this slot right here, and then of course go through and balance your camera, and then boom, you're shooting in vertical format. It's actually super easy to set up and get rolling, and balancing it isn't more difficult than just balancing it in regular format, so definitely one of my favorite features. It also features Bluetooth shutter control, so you can stop and start recording on your camera. And then on one side of the gimbal, there's another dial to control the settings on the screen, and then on the other side, there's also a joystick to help control the different directions of the gimbal head. And you also have an M button to change the different modes of the gimbal. And then on the front, you have a trigger that if you double tap it, it will reset the gimbal head back to the default position. And if you press it once, you can program that to be set to whatever mode you would like it to go to. And then right below that, there's this little dial that you can use to control your ISO, your aperture, and even your focus and zoom if you have one of those specific lenses that can be controlled that way electronically. And for further control, the gimbal features a 1-inch screen on the gimbal itself to control the different modes and change the settings, but they also feature a mobile app to do pretty much the same thing in, but you can also update your gimbal from there as well. They also offer a sling grip that is sold separately, and it's advertised to offer a more comfortable handling experience when in low shooting modes or using the gimbal in general. But for me, I just have the bare bones Weebill 3E, and that's what we're going to be going over today. I'm going to throw my Sony a7S III on here with the 24-70, well, in B-roll format, because I'm using the a7S III right now to shoot this. So a lot of the B-roll that you might see showing the gimbal and the camera is going to be filmed on the iPhone 15 Pro, which is kind of crazy because this thing shoots log, and it's kind of crazy to see how far camera quality has come in iPhones. Hopefully you don't tell too much of a difference, and if it looks good, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't, just keep it to yourself. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about how to balance your camera on a gimbal, but if you don't know, just make sure each axis is level or doesn't move. The locking mechanisms really help with this because you want to balance one axis at a time. And there you go, balanced and ready to go. So after you have your camera balanced, all you have to do is turn the gimbal on, and then for me, I like to balance the motor parameters every single time I turn my gimbal on or change my setup, and that just really ensures that you're going to get the smoothest and most stable footage. So the gimbal has multiple different modes, from follow mode, pan follow mode, POV mode, vortex, and many more, and some of my most used modes are the POV mode, which follows pretty much every movement and every single axis and every tilt, and that's great for those dynamic car edits that you see on Instagram or TikTok and adds some cool motion to your shots. Vortex mode is another one of my favorites inverts and it makes it really easy to create shots like this. And you can also trigger it to rotate automatically on the gimbal itself to get a more uniform rotation. F mode is my most favorite and the most basic mode, and it's the one that I use pretty much 99% of the time. And essentially the gimbal follows every movement you make except tilting from side to side. So it keeps your horizon level but still follows your pan and tilt movements. This is my favorite mode to use in real estate or weddings. And the 24-70 has been a lens that's been notorious, at least in my case, in balancing on small gimbals like this. And for example, I've used the original Ronin SC since 2018 whenever it first came out. Although it is a little bit bigger gimbal in size, I've always struggled to balance the 24-70 on this. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the size of the motor arms themselves, but this one handles the 24-70 no problem. So I've been able to use this gimbal for around a month and a half now. Whenever they sent it to me, I've been able to test it out, use it on professional shoots like real estate shoots, and it's handled every single thing that I've thrown at it. It's lightweight, durable, and extremely stable, which is its job. It's a gimbal, it's supposed to do that. But there's absolutely no micro jitters or sudden movements in the motor arms. This thing is absolutely solid, and I fully trust it on any shoot that I go on and need to use it for. Since it's a smaller gimbal, you're not going to be able to run things like the FX6 or maybe the C70 or a RED camera. This gimbal is aimed more towards the prosumer cameras like the Sony a7S III or the Canon EOS Rs. Cameras of that size, this gimbal is meant for. And for most freelancers and creators out there, a compact gimbal like this may be all you need. Unless you're running, bigger camera setups, you might be looking for a bigger gimbal. And if you shoot real estate and have a similar setup as me, a compact gimbal like this is perfect for you. Same with the wedding videographers and other freelance gigs like events and corporate gigs that you would need smooth shots for. And for creators, this is perfect for you as well because it's lightweight. So if you want to vlog but still have stable shots, this would be perfect for that. Not to mention its vertical capabilities and all of the versatility that comes with shooting vertical for content creators and even freelancers. So the closest competitor to the Cinepeer Weebil 3E would be the DJI RS3 Mini, and that comes in at around $270 US at the time of recording this video. So for $30 more, you're getting a similar spec gimbal. But the RS3 Mini only has a 10-hour advertised runtime and a tested payload of 4.4 pounds. Now, payloads can fluctuate depending on the camera setup, the size of your setup, but this gimbal's payload is advertised at 6.6 pounds and can handle my 24-70 no problem. Everything else between the two though is pretty much similar, and that's something to consider if you're in the market for a compact gimbal and want to explore your options. I wish I had the two here with me to compare hands-on, but maybe in a future video. Do I recommend the Cinepeer Weebil 3E for you if you are in the market for a compact gimbal? Yes. $250 does everything you need it for, no brainer. Absolutely. This gimbal is amazing. I'm replacing my old RSC with this gimbal, and since I run a pretty much compact setup as of now, this is all I need a gimbal for currently with what I'm doing. If I wanted to go and shoot a more professional shoot, or if I was working on a bigger set and I needed like a transmitter and I was running a bigger camera setup, of course I would go after a bigger gimbal. But for real estate, content creation, and other corporate gigs, this is perfect. This is a perfect gimbal in my opinion. So if you are running a bigger setup like the FX6 or C70, you're definitely going to want to explore other options for gimbals that are a little bit bigger from Zhiyun or DJI, and I'll make sure to link those in the description below, along with other options for compact gimbals on the market currently. All right, so that's the Cinepeer Weebil 3E. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.